Hey guys, it's Tizzy time, and I'm here with a very special guest today. I'm really excited to speak with you guys and speak with my co-host for the day as well. We're going to jump into some amazing topics. We're definitely going to learn more about our co-host. But before I go forward and talk and jump right into our topic for the day, I'm going to allow my co-hosts to introduce themselves. So Sara, this is your time to shine. Thank you so much for jumping on the Chantizzy Podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me, Chantel. I'm really excited to be here. And I know we've been, trying to coordinate when we would even make this happen. So I'm super thrilled that we were able to finally get a day in the calendar. My name is Sara Dahmen. I am a writer of both fiction and nonfiction. I write in Hollywood. I'm a screenwriter. And I'm also known as the only female coppersmith in America who builds copper cookware.
Wow, Sara, we're so accomplished. I love it. She's like, I write, but also if I have to get down and dirty, I love that.
It's the weirdest claim to fame, because half the time people are like, a what? You're a what? Because you don't expect to hear the word coppersmith. But yeah, I build pots and pans, and I'm the only woman in the entire country who does it. And I use a lot of tools from the 17 and 1800s. And I have a big copper shop.
That's amazing. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that, the book facts are interesting, because they definitely are, but I mean, the coppersmith, how many, and then the only one in the U.S.? Oh my goodness.
There's a couple guys. Yeah. But
I mean, there's not a lot of ladies, and with Women's History Month coming up, I mean, we may have to invite you back and talk about the greatness you do within the community for us queens. I think that's amazing. Congratulations, first and foremost. But two, I might have to request some pots and pans. I may be, I may have to switch over to copper only, especially a queen like yourself is, putting them together and doing it. That's amazing.
You can buy people. See, we'll digress immediately. I'm just like, we'll go. No, but people don't realize, you can go and buy as long as they are lined with tin. I do a lot of work, fixing pots that are 300 years old, 300 years old. And if I can change the inside to have fresh tin lining, instead of stainless or ceramic and stuff, if they're that old, I can fix them up. And people are using pots that are 300 years old on their modern stoves. And you can find them at flea markets, so they're not super expensive. It's like a real thing. It's super green. Yeah. But anyway, we can go, I won't get into and then we're going to talk about coefficients of thermal expansion. We're not here to talk about that today.
Please tell us more. Now I need to know.
No, you'll get me down the rabbit hole of what's better, stainless or copper. It gets very ugly. It's a whole debate between copper and tin and stainless and aluminum, and it's a lot. There's a lot of metalheads out there.
It's so funny that you mentioned that. I was actually watching Arthur. Don't ask. I was watching Arthur the other day. Just to stroll down memory lane, see what I have missed, etc. So just going forward and seeing it was an episode and DW was like, I need 10. And they were going through the whole episode this is aluminum. This is this is plastic, or this is I forgot the other metal he used. It was sheetrock, not sheetrock, I'm sorry, sheet metal. And she was going on this hunt for 10 for her parents' anniversary, her parents' 10th anniversary. So I just thought that was funny that you brought it up. And I'm like, DW would sit there and agree with you, hey, we need to know that copper
we do.
Is efficient, and we need to make sure we're getting the right metals and, not getting, shortchanged.
Yeah. Well, and actually that dovetails. See, we can even dovetail this in. So the very first fiction book I ever wrote was called Tinsmith. And it was about a woman who became a tinsmith in the 1800s, which was rare, but it happened. But back then, it truly was a thing where at the 10-year anniversary, because people didn't live that long. So if you made it to 10, it was a big deal. And you would get a tin hat made by the local tinsmith, so that men would have top hats made completely out of metal, and the women would have bonnets. You can actually see these in historical societies if they're lucky to have them. They had actual bonnets with rosettes and ribbons, but it was stationary. It was all made out of tin plate. It was the craziest tradition ever. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And such a small world that I watched this episode, of Arthur with no preparation for our conversation, and to actually know that was a fact. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm a little ahead. I love that for me.
You did. You were even able to talk about books in there. See, it's all.
Yes, it was a double duo.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I definitely didn't know people were gifted 10 for, making it to 10 years. And like now I feel like that's something I have to give.
Yeah.
When, somebody turns 10, there's a 10th anniversary.
10th anniversaries, yeah.
10 only.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. If you look it up, like in like anniversary books, like, like certain years mean, ceramic, wood, like there's the traditional gifts for wedding anniversaries. Tin is actually still for 10 years married. It's still a thing. Yeah.
I think that's so amazing. I also think that's super peculiar, and peculiar because like it's something that like if we as people didn't have the knowledge, or we had people like yourself who actually has the background in that, we wouldn't know that was a thing, or we would be hearing it on TikTok and questioning it like we always do everything else. Like, this is not a thing.
I've actually tried to do TikTok. I'm not on TikTok.
Because anything, just an FYI, you're not missing.
Oh, thank God. No, I've tried.
Great, but
No, you know why though? Because I don't think TikTok is a place for people who either, well, I know there's Book Talk, which is a huge community, of course, that I have not been able to crack, but I would always go on going, I'm going to teach people about fire and metal and tin and copper. And like, I'd get no views. And like, no one cares about these old trades. Like it was dead.
The things you want to learn about are like you said, low viewership or low engagement interaction. But then the BS, they're quick to sit there and promote. They're quick to sit there. If I see one more dance trend on TikTok that I have to learn, I'm going to be highly upset. I do not want to learn dances. Just give me the conspiracy theories. Give me the restaurant recommendations, and let me go on live sometime and disagree with others and have discussion. But as far as like TikTok as content wise, I totally agree with you, Sarah. I feel like it's a waste of time within engaging with an audience and genuinely making an audience from your content, because it's like unless you've been within like the TikTok creator portion from the beginning and have that community, I don't think that's something we as creatives can just jump into, especially with us being a bit older. Like I see a lot of like, Gen Zers, I'm Gen Y, but a lot of Gen Zers and a lot of like, I guess Generation Alpha, because they're at that age now. My cousin is my moderator on TikTok. So, she's like 14. But just going forward and seeing how so many people 25 and under engage with the platform in comparison to those 25 and up, it's definitely very different. And then they got the grandmas and grandpas on there, Sarah. Like,
I feel like we're like the lost TikTok. I'm a millennial. Like I'm 40.
Yes.
Right? Like I'm like I had a total analog childhood, and then like Facebook happened like after I was out of college. Like we knew about it, but we couldn't get it, kind of thing. That was my college experience. We had MSN Messenger.
Yes, and we had and we had MySpace, and we had AIM. Yeah. Like I remember growing up, what is your screen name? Let's log on and chat later. BBM was another thing. Yeah. Kick. I remember Kick was very heavy when I was growing up too.
Yeah, I didn't do much of that. It was crazy.
Yeah, and it's like now we have like 9 social media platforms just for, you have an option. You can do X, you can do TikTok, Pinterest. Now you have Threads, where it's like a kind of like a tech savvy Instagram. It's just a lot to catch up with.
I don't get it. I don't get it. And I will say, I mean, something kind of, we're all over the place. We're going to just be throwing nuggets out. But like when people, so I have, I do, and this is, being a creator, you have all these social media places that you have to exist on a relatively regular basis. And then they each come with their own private messaging. They each come with their own everything, right? And so like I sit here and I manage 5 email boxes between my businesses.
Yes.
I have an assistant. She does 2. So there's 7 total, but I don't touch 2 of them, right? So like I have 5, and then I have, your Instagram for your writing is different than my Instagram for like my coppersmithing. And then there's the YouTube for the copper. And then there's the Threads. And then there's the Facebook pages for the writing and Facebook pages for the copper. And like, so there's all those media places that you have to like exist at the same time, but each one needs its own content because it's a slightly different
and its own voice and its own tone. You really, no.
Yes,
Not you
I
put
do.
up the to-do list, Sarah. Oh my goodness.
Out the entire year.
Oh my goodness. I love that though. I love the organization because me, it's all on my iPhone. Lose this
I'm
phone, it's over for me.
older than you. 40-year-old, not
Don't tell
40-year-old.
people that because you don't even look 40. So that's amazing. I definitely thought we were the same age or it was like a 2 to 3 year difference. I would not think you were
Your
40.
time. No, please. I have 3 kids and a farm and a husband. I've been married 18 years. Like, I am old.
You do not look old. What's in the water, Sarah? Please let me know.
And then
And
what's
all the time.
Wisconsin?
You guys are eating us up. Everybody 35 and older. Like, I'm afraid I'm going to be one of the Gen Zers, Gen Yers, who is 40 looking 45, 50. Like, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, you look your age. But you guys, like, even my mom is 48. And people always misconceive us for sisters. They're like, oh, my goodness. And I'm just like, that's a compliment for her. But for me, that's so, like, thank you, though. But, say we're like, say cousins, maybe an aunt. Like, I wouldn't be mad at aunt. You know,
Yeah.
but mom, sister.
Are you related? That's the
Yeah,
real
I
question.
don't think are you related. You guys are very similar in age groups. Are you? But sisters, I would even say cousins because cousins is like okay, maybe there's like a 10-year difference, but that's my mom, and everybody looks like they've seen like bloody murder when I say that's my mom. They're like, you guys are mom and daughter, and I'm like, is that a compliment
It's
for
hurting
me?
me. Stop
Yeah,
talking.
like, or is that an insult for me? And it's just like every time I get on a platform with you guys, you and a few of my other guests who are over 35, I'm just like, what is in the water? You guys are not, you don't look 40. Sarah, like, you telling me that, I would have never believed that. I still think you're lying, but I'll let,
No.
let you.
God, my children would be like, that math doesn't check out. So
Children always have a area, like I said, of humbling you, right? Like me going, like, we're not sisters. That's my mom. But it would be worse if I was like, she's damn near 50. Like, you know, sisters.
right. No, you know, I live in Wisconsin, so we don't get a lot of sun half the year. And I
cheese because I hear Wisconsin has really, really good cheese and like the best milk.
It might good is within. I mean, there's some really good cheese, or else there's just cheese.
Okay.
But there's just a lot of cheese.
Okay. I mean, we're New York. They say we're the Big Apple. We don't have a lot of apples. We barely have a lot of trees. I mean, if you go upstate, you'll see it. But as far as the city, yeah. New York, yeah. We don't have much trees in New York City. Like, Manhattan is like, okay, so we have like state parks, city parks, where of course you can go, have a moment, get some fresh air. But as far as like New York being very like agriculturally for it to be flourishing agriculturally, I wouldn't say like at least the city is doing that. Like if you go upstate, I went to school upstate New York. It's a bunch of trees. You have, I call them our forest cousins because they're very much more agriculturally blessed than we are in the city. But obviously the city is knocking down trees for buildings. But yeah, it was a point in time one time, it was like maybe 4 years ago, but they were going forward and having all male trees, right? There were no female trees. So, or was it the opposite? Whatever one, it was more female trees than male trees. So they were basically fostering trees, like not naturally, just like allowing all of this pollen and stuff in the air, and it was really bad. And I have allergies, so yeah, New York, we're using the bad way of gardening and agriculture, farming. We're just getting it done. We're like, hey, we need 12 trees by tomorrow, just all woman trees, no male trees.
All woman trees.
Yes, it's good.
You do need both. We've got a mini orchard out in the back, and you need to be like, well, and actually. It depends. Usually, like with apple trees, you just need 2, and
right.
like, and one will be the boy, and one will be the girl, and then
we have like 40 male trees in Manhattan, and then there's like 3 female trees. So all the pollen is going to those 3 female trees. The spring horrible.
I bet though, over time they'll even out.
It hasn't been as bad this year. Like my allergies were pretty bad, but not as bad as. It was maybe 2-3 years ago. And it's just like, it's so crazy how very similar to Wisconsin, New York is one of those states that fluctuates with weather. Winter can be really, very dexterous. But as far as it goes within, just going forward and being agriculturally sound, New York, we have a lot of work to do. Our upstate cousins are doing great. Our forest cousins are doing the best. But the industrialization cousins, we're doing horrible.
But it's New York. I mean, I've been there many times and I still do love it. The energy is really its own.
One thing about it, you cannot take the ambiance and aesthetic of New York and bring it anywhere else. Like New York is one of those areas that, like, you know, like they say, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, quote unquote. But I love the saying, and I only say quote unquote because I don't think people should just come to New York and be like, okay, I can chase my dreams here. No, chase your dreams, build up yourself in your small town, and then come to New York and eat. Like, show us, you know, city people that you can be from out of town and flourish your dreams. I mean, like, the city's great. I always tell people though, like, don't fall in love with the image of the city, fall in love with the messaging of the city. And what I mean image is, of course, we read books, and this will be a perfect segue into our conversation. But of course, we read books and we have all these, not fiction based accounts, like they're kind of like a mix of nonfiction and fiction. But, you know, for example, Christmas time, you know, New York is one of the places everybody wants to be at for Christmas, Rockefeller tree, things like that. And that's great. But I feel like people fall in love with that imagery, very similar to the city that never sleeps. If you make it here, you can make it anywhere, you know, Annie vibe, where you think, you know, you're going to be this small town girl and run into Daddy Warbucks. Unfortunately, in New York, that's not really a thing. But that ties into my segue. So, what is one thing you feel like as a writer is a stigma that you either want to continue in storytelling or a stigma that you want to end in storytelling? Because I know authors have their own vices within storytelling. Like, for example, writing in third person. I know some authors are like, no, I will never write in third person. And then I know there's other authors who are like, I will never write in first person. So what are some stigmas that you feel are great in storytelling and some that you just rather ignore?
I actually get in a huge trouble. I did early on in my career because I refused to write in anything other than present tense. So, and it was just because it was where my voice and it landed, you know. And so, I remember working with the editor that I'm with now, and he's like, I really think you should, you know, consider writing in past tense. You're writing in first person, so first person present tense in a historic fiction novels. That's just not really it's not really done. And you're going to hit problems trying to sell the book. And I was like, that's cute. Now it sound like I would try and kind of go back and forth in tenses and it would sound awful and stilted. It just didn't sound like me on the page. And so, I ended up going into like my library and pulling out like books that were famous, that did well, that had like 10,000 reviews, you know, all famous authors. And I was like, first person, present tense, first person, present tense. They did it too. This got published too. And they finally was like, okay, you can do it. I won't make you change it again. But I had to fight for that. And even one of the reviews I got with my first fiction book was the reviewer, I think it was either Manhattan or San Francisco, book review or whatever it was. And they were like, you know, if there's a weakness in the book, it's because it's written in first person present tense. But the story was enough that she was like, but it's not enough to deter you. Like you don't know what's going to happen, because my other pet peeve is I hate to follow tropes. I get in trouble, actually. I'll submit things to romance conferences, where they do like competitions. Sometimes I did this years ago. And I thought I'm like, I think there's going to be romance in this book. And like the feedback was like, no, you didn't follow the rules on romance writing. So, nope. Loser, you did not place in this contest. And then my husband would be like, I dare you to write. I don't really write romance, but he was like, I dare you to do it because it's like $1 billion industry. And if you can crack the code, like we're in. And he was like, okay, so do it. And I was like, all right, I got this. And so then I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this, and we're going to do the girl, and then we'll introduce the guy. And so then in my first chapter, it's a short chapter. I was moving things along, and I kill a toddler, like immediately, like page 1. Like the mom loses her.
Wait. You ran past that super quick. We did what, Sarah?
Like, it's my steamy, sexy romance book, and literally page 1.5, I kill the main character lady's toddler, like he's 2 or 3, and he gets thrown overboard and disappears in the rapids, right? And
okay, so he didn't, but you said unalive. So is he like, is it one of those romance novels where the son comes back in the future? Or do I have to read it to get, okay, ooh, okay.
He's, spoiler alert, he's not dead. The Native Americans help him. It's a historical.
Okay. Now that makes me 10 times more interested. Not just in a fake cliffhanger, like, ooh, I'm going to unalive a baby, or am I?
No, well, actually, and I sent this to a friend of mine she's a director in Hollywood, and she's like, please tell me that baby is not really dead. And I'm like,
he's not
really dead? She's like, good.
That reminds me of a quick story time before I let you continue, but I don't know if you ever heard of the game Mafia, but basically it's like a mafia member, a doctor, and like innocents, right? So you usually play with a group of like 20 people. One person is the doctor, one person is the killer or the mafia member, and then everybody else is like, innocents. And the game is basically you have to guess who the murderer is, you have to guess who the doctor is, and basically the mafia member has to guess the doctor, and the doctor has to guess who's killing, everybody with the game. So one time I was the mafia member, and my friend and her daughter were there. So, I'm just picking people off, but I'm picking people off so people don't suspect me, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm doing well so far. My friend, though, is there, and he's like, it's Chantel. I'm telling you, it's Chantel. And it's basically like a game of gaslighting. So I'm just like, no, it's me? Like, what? No. And this one girl there, she's like, you're such a good actor. Like, I need you in Hollywood. And I'm just like, please. I just gaslight very well. Nonetheless, we wind up playing with my friend and her daughter. So it was like maybe down to the last 3 people. So I decided to, and it's a game. May she forgive me for life. But I unalived her daughter in the game. Sarah, I don't mean to laugh, but
they're with you, so don't worry. Please. I killed a toddler unalive.
But yours came back to life. I was grilled for the rest of the evening. Like, even in a fictional sense, you're unaliving children. I'm like, it's a game. I have to do that so you guys would take eyes off of me. And it actually made more eyes go on me. So for the rest of the game, I was the person who unalived the child, my friend's child at that. So I was looked at as a weird Auntie Tizzy for a little while. Like,
yeah. Sometimes you got to do it to like.
It's a game. It's competition, Sarah. I mean, like, would we be mad if I stole all her property in Monopoly? Would I be bad auntie then?
Yeah.
No.
Right? Then you'd just be a smart business person. No, I don't. But that, I mean, to your point, like, I love doing the unexpected, right?
Right.
You wanted to do something that would be unusual just to like kind of throw people. And I love doing that. I love, like, it's a conscious thought when I'm writing. It's what would most people do? So I'll do the opposite. Like, it's a true choice. And it means that I struggle to kind of stick in a genre. It means that it's kind of one of those Princess Bride moments where it's like, we don't know how to promote this. Like, is it a comedy? Is it a romance? Is it an adventure story? Is it, satire? Like, they don't even know kind of how to like publicize it. And I get that problem with a lot of the books I've written, because people are like, we don't really, like, it's cool, but we don't really know what to do with it. And that's the same, with both fiction and nonfiction in my experience. So I've been published. I have a nonfiction book out with HarperCollins. And then I have my own, and then I have stuff that has been published by a smaller mid-sized press in Canada, traditional published for that. And then I have actually self-published in the past, depending on what it was, like before I had these book deals. And to this day, sometimes some of these books, like even the nonfiction book, which is about copper and cookware, of course, like even the editors, they were like, we get this, it's amazing, but we don't really know how to, like, what peg to put this in, because it doesn't fit neatly in a box the way most books do. And so as much as it's awesome to be able to like do something different and unexpected, it's a detriment too. And I think, it's easy for me to do weird things because I read widely. A lot of people don't. You probably read widely because you do this podcast and you see all these kinds of books. So if you're widely read, it's easier to come up with really unexpected things because you know what's already been done. I mean, there's a big book out right now. I almost feel like it shall not be named. We'll probably name it anyway. But like everybody's going like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. I didn't see any of these twists coming. And I was like, it's Peyton Place. Like, I know they came out in 1951 or whatever, but like I read it, like it was scandalous back then. And like, it's Peyton Place. Like, this is amazing to you. This has been done. This was already done.
Tenfold this has been done. And if not, the story is very similar to other authors, and that's the thing about books, movies, TV, whatever. Like, I just feel like the main premise in the plot is always about, if not love, about fighting for your love, it always, and I agree with your husband on this entirely, it always relays back to love. And I always think about Shakespeare, because even though his plays literally can be madness, one minute the sister's in love with the brother, or, the queen is a murder-fueled woman and her husband is, very sensitive, but trying to, Macbeth. But I just think it's so funny how we always relate back to the original storyline, which is love conquers all, or that, that ending where it's like, all right, at the end of the day, I just maybe murdered an entire town. But I have to find my love. Like, I was watching The Mummy earlier, and regardless,
my kids, like,
how did they love it?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, it was hilarious because like it's a 90s movie, right? And my kids are 10, 12, and 14. And they're like, my oldest son, he was just like, what's with the bugs? Like, are they a thing? Like, is that a thing? How come there's
we were talking earlier, and I'm like, wait, I don't know if I want to watch this movie. What is it again? Is it flies? Is it roaches? Because I'm remembering from when I was a kid. And then as soon as we watched the first maybe 15 minutes and saw it was beetles, I'm like, oh my God, right? It was beetles.
It was the beetles. No, honestly, they thought it was great. And then they watched the second one, and like the CGI was like cutting edge when it first came out, right? Cutting edge. The Rock was the Scorpion King, and we were like, oh my God,
he's transformed into a scorpion.
Right? And my kids are like, oh, that's like a bad video game. Like, they didn't even...
They were like, AI.
This is really bad.
Horrible. Oh my goodness. We actually just started. We're about to finish it. I give myself time after the podcast to like unpack with a movie, because sometimes you just need people are like, when are you off your phone? As soon as I'm done with my work, I need to like jump into the next, and unpack. Yeah. But I'm just like, wow, like we got quality movies. Not saying that kids now don't have quality movies, because they definitely do. I feel like definitely with the computer generated graphics too, like they can really believe like, all right, I can fly like Superman. Us, we thought that, but like when we got home and got the DVD, it was like, oh, maybe we can go to Disney and pretend. But as far as it goes within like really trying to expand with certain, movies nowadays, like I said, it's always going to be redone. I mean, I can't wait for them to remake The Mummy. I wonder who's going to be in it. Maybe Sabrina Carpenter, but we'll see.
I don't know. I like my old Brendan Fraser is still, still the king, man. And Rachel Weisz,
a handsome man till this day. Like, it's crazy.
My crush in that whole movie, like I remember being in like 8th grade, being like, I think I want to marry Arnold Vosloo. He's really hot. Mom.
Literally, me looking at Brendan Fraser like this is my husband. Yep. And then looking at the bald man, like, oh my goodness, this is why I would never date bald men. They literally turn into sand and
no, it's so fine. I was like, I'll do that. Like, if my husband's like, what if I lose my hair? I'm like, no problem, honey.
Right now, and then now you have to go forward and get the bang and have the nice hieroglyphic paint. I was just looking at the beginning of the movie. His queen, I forgot her name, like Namraka or something like that. I forgot the name. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, the body. I think they're married in real life too. But the body is just on point. Like the two actors who played the Egyptian queen and the
I know the answer to this, and it's not, and only because
I married. Oh man, you ruined my TikTok gave me the
no, it was not.
They were married.
I will tell you, here is truth, and I only know this because I looked it up, of course, in like the year 2000, because I was obsessed.
He's like, listen, hey, back up off my...
No, Patricia Velasquez is with a woman, and Arnold Vosloo has been married for a very long time to like an accountant. like a Hispanic.
Wow. I think that's amazing. And I love hearing about that. Like, I don't know why, but I love hearing that, like,
I know
actors
it
have
means
normal lives. Like,
yeah.
I love the whole Hollywood scene. Oh my God, Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt. Oh, two of the biggest stars are dating, Hollywood love. But sometimes I love hearing that a lot of these actors go home to an everyday hardworking woman or everyday hardworking man, and they don't have to be in the spotlight. It gives the actor some kind of normalcy. Like, imagine you're this huge movie star. Everybody knows who you are. They love you. And then you're going home to another movie star who people love. Like, when do you get peace? When do you have a moment to be like, yeah, like, I'm like,
I mean, that's why superstars are superstars. I mean, I spend a lot of time in LA, and there's a ton of people who are behind the scenes who make the world go round, who have who are wonderfully kind people, who have good relationships and marriages or long-term partners. Like, just, and you realize, like, you do have to kind of sift through to find the good people. But when you do, like, I mean, we have awesome friends who live out there. And they're just good people. And, it does kind of restore your faith in, like, when you see some of the Hollywood stuff and you go, oh, is it really like that? And
right.
I would say, you see the splashy stuff, but the beating heart of that industry is made up of really, I was
about to say, actors, producers, like, that's funny enough. Excuse me. That's what I really wanted to get into right out of college. I remember my parents took me on a trip right before I graduated with my bachelor's to Warner Brothers Studio. And we also went to Universal, and I got to meet a few writers and producers. And literally, they're like, when you come back, just apply for an internship. We love to have you. You're, super vocal girly. Of course, I didn't follow up because I thought I was young and turned. But just seeing how amazing the people who you say are the heartbeat of Hollywood, which they are, like the writers, the producers, the key grip, the best boy, the cameraman, the assistant cameraman, like, that's what really makes not only production, but what is the beating heart of what makes a movie, what makes a show, what makes a music video. And it's just like, of course the stars get all the shine, but like, me being such a behind the scenes person too, within marketing, within, communications and, things of that nature, it's beautiful to see that a lot of the producers and the writers are getting their shines now. And it's important. And I think that's great. Like, for example, Issa Rae, she was behind the scenes for years. Now that she has her own production company, things of that nature, I think it's great that they're putting the right people up front, versus going forward. And, of course, having that image that, Brad Pitt is why this movie was great. No, this movie was great because Mark Johnson, who was on camera, or the best boy for that one scene, went forward and made sure it was, necessary to get. So I totally agree with that, Sarah, actually.
Yeah. So it's, but it's still a hard industry, just like writing books, just like, no matter what you're doing, if you're self-publishing or you're working with a big 5 publisher or you're working in Hollywood and everything like that, like, so much of it is, luck and timing.
Right.
So much of it is, do your reps know the right people who can actually propel you forward? I have a talent agent at Gersh. I have a manager. I have a book agent. Like, I have all these people who are all, it took a long time to find the right ones. Like, you start working with one and then you move to someone else and you move to someone else until you find the right fit and that they have the connections that you need for the right editors at the right publishing houses, for the right contacts in production or, things like that. And so that the networking, the building of the relationships is a big part of the industry that I think a lot of people forget about. But so the publishing is so much more than getting a book out there, no matter how you're doing it, I guess, is the moral of that little side story. But, I think that that's something people forget about, that as much as we want to exist in a vacuum and be writers, we can't. Not if we want to see some sort of success. And it does take a village. It does take good people. It does take time, unless you have a breakout thing that you can't plan for and you can't guarantee. And even your reps can't guarantee that. I have a good friend of mine who's a writer, and he always says, you can't manufacture a zeitgeist moment. And that's true with books, with movies, with TV shows. You might think you have the most coolest idea ever, and you might, but if a pandemic comes and the world shuts down and Amazon is not delivering books anymore because they're delivering toilet paper, and then there's a paper and ink shortage and the cost of ink goes up, and like, all those things can contrive against you that nobody can control. Nobody can control. And you can't change that. It's just bad luck. And other times you see people and you're like, how did they get there? And a lot of times they've done the work, they have the networks, they have good product, but they also got that zeitgeist moment that nobody could manufacture and they just got lucky. So
that kind of segues me into my next question. What would you say is your favorite form of publishing? Would you say it's from a large publisher? Would you say it's from a more so local publisher? Or please forgive me if I'm getting the terms wrong. Or would you say self-publishing is your favorite? Like which one? Or are you like, you don't really mind which one it is as long as it's getting published?
Well, there is that. As long as you're getting a book out, you're doing great.
Right, exactly.
Having done them both, I will say the prestige that you get with a big publishing company and the team you get is unparalleled. You are getting amazing editors who have staff. You're getting a marketing team. You're getting a good advance usually that is nice to get. You're getting that 5-star treatment, and that's worth a lot. And that should never be. There are a lot of people in the publishing industry who think working with the big five isn't worth it anymore, specifically because the payouts are different, the royalties are structured different, and you do lose a lot of creative control. You don't get to control, the title of your book. You don't get to control the cover in the same way you would if you were working with a mid-sized press or self-pubbing. Now that said, those same things I still dealt with a mid-size to small press where, you're fighting with the sales team on the name of the book, the title. You're going back and forth on cover, but you do usually get a little bit more creative control. You do get a little bit more leeway in terms of the rights of your book, what you own, what you don't own. And then obviously, the self-publishing, well, sometimes you might want to think of it as the Wild West. I mean, it really depends on how much control you want, because in the end, even when you're with the big five, in the end, it's all falls on you in the long term to promote your books. And that's just a fact of the industry. It's no different than even in Hollywood, where you might have a team, you might have agents, but in the end, it's you advocating for your work, even after you've already had things, bought or optioned or produced. You are still your own advocate in the long run, and that's true no matter what. So in the end, in the long run, it doesn't really matter who publishes you. It kind of comes down to what's your upfront desires. And then from there, know that in the end, it's still, you're going to be in the same boat as every single author out there, unless you're, Stephen King or Mike, James Patterson or, Nora Roberts. If you're one of those tiny, 0.1% of the publishing world that you don't really need to do anything other than publish a book with your name on it. But the rest of us are all in the same boat.
I mean, shout outs to James Patterson. I mean, he's still kicking. I mean, he's still writing books. My mom used to be obsessed with James Patterson.
He works with a lot of ghostwriters.
And I heard that too. And it's just like, it's so funny as well how, he's just James Patterson. He may not even be writing these books anymore. He's just like, James Patterson, throw that name on there. Sell with me. I'll give him a little money, but it's mine.
But you know what? Good for him. He made it.
Also.
He can own that, I mean, I guess we all should be so lucky. I'm sure we all would do the same if we were in his boat. And I don't begrudge him that, especially because, it's like, it's kind of like an open secret. So it's not like he's saying, no, I wrote this 100% on my own. Everybody knows you didn't,
He's like, I'm 85. What do you think I'm doing? My house in Florida. And it's so funny because when I was watching the Epstein documentary, it was said that he lived not too far from, it was an area where a lot of affluent people live. And actually in Florida, and I think West Palm Beach where it was, his neighbor, maybe 2-3 doors down, was James Patterson. And I'm like, you wouldn't even know James Patterson lives there. He just stays out the mess so much. Well, now I'm questioning it because I've been watching Blink twice, and I don't want to get into that today, Sarah, because we would be here for 2 hours. But nonetheless, now looking at James Patterson a little different, like, what was you doing, over there? But as far as it goes, it's just so funny how books was what gave him his livelihood. And he's a author living amongst those who are in business, living amongst those who, trade stocks or who work very heavily in that, that world of politics, whatever have you. So to see him himself just go forward and continue to be a household name, I think that's amazing. And, also like to continue on from that, Stephen King is very known on Threads. Like, I mean, he was just there the other day recommending a book that he heard from a new author. I forgot her name, but he was saying like he could not put down a book. And I think that's amazing. I love that a lot of the heroes are on social doing a 180. And instead of now being the one to push the books, they're doing it still, but more so in a marketing, recommendation, review category. And I think that's great. I mean, like, imagine your hero just criticizing your work. I mean, if I'm trying to think of an amazing interviewer who, if I just seen them come up to me and be like, "We love your podcast," I probably would faint. Like, no, it's so funny because, like, honestly, she passed, but Joan Rivers was one of my favorite. I really love Larry King too. Passed. Well, I think Larry King is still kicking, and I don't want to say he passed. I'm not sure. I think he died though. I think Larry King passed.
I feel like he did.
Yeah. Larry King was up there when he was alive.
Joan, though, like it's more recent, so I feel you. I couldn't tell you.
I love Joan Rivers, and who I really love and like really look after now. Like, because ultimately, I want to have my own late night show and just do a bunch of segments. But I really am obsessed with David Letterman. Funny enough, he's an Aries too, so I just thought that was funny. I was watching a show one time, and I was like, "We act alike. I wonder if he's." And then I Google it. I'm like, "Oh, makes sense." But I really like him, and I like Jimmy Kimmel. So I'm like, if they came to me and was like, "We love your show. We love Tizzy Talks. We love Chantizzy Podcast," I probably faint. So I think it's great that we have our heroes now consuming our content versus, us consuming theirs. It's like a full circle moment. So that's why I love social, because we have more of a proximity to these people than, of course, when we were young. Remember writing letters to a friggin' fan club? Or
like you would think that like the address that you found online somewhere was the right one, and chances are it either came back to you or never made it. It was
fake. Never made it. The funny part too is I remember they started doing emails, and it was like, Beyonce@AOL.com, email me or call me at this number. And it was like a 800 number. And we were so, like, I remember Soulja Boy, he came out with that song, Kiss Me Through the Phone, and everybody was calling the number. And I'm like, why are we so gullible? Why do we think Soulja Boy is going to pick up the phone? But then now you have celebrities leaking numbers. And when you do decide to call, the celebrity will pick up. So I just thought it was like, everything is full circle. Just even me and my boyfriend, we were talking, we're like, remember we used to buy bootleg movies? Remember we had to, if we couldn't afford the movies, now you can just get an app for it. Or you go on TikTok and somebody's in the movie theater watching it for you. So
it's so crazy. The world has changed so much so fast just from, and just, watching my kids have a completely different experience than I did at middle school. And I mean, we're old school, my husband and I, so like they don't have smartphones.
I love that. I didn't have a smartphone until like an actual smartphone. My dad promised me I could get an iPhone. At the time, iPhone was super new. It was around 2009. This is when the 3G came out, where like a lot of people started jumping on iPhone. So I remember when iPhone first came out, it was very exclusive. Like if you had it, you had it. But if you didn't, you did not. So I remember he was like, do good in 8th grade, finish off the year strong, I'll buy you an iPhone. 8th grade, I'm 14 going on 15. That was the first time I had a phone. I had like a little play phone that was like paid, like, what was it? Like prepaid?
The pay as you go. Yeah, those. But here's the difference. When you had that phone, you didn't have the same social media access.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean,
there was
no aim. You needed us, yeah.
I mean, shit, I remember. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You can curse. You're fine.
Okay. I work with metalsmiths. It's all men. There's so much wearing usually.
Yes, but, of course. You have to in this industry. You have to be.
But I still remember when Instagram came out and you had to pay for it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. People don't remember that. People don't remember there was a free version of Instagram, and you would have like, I think you could only post like a certain amount of photos a month. And if you exceeded that, then they would offer you to pay. Yeah. So I remember that as well. Yes.
But like when it first came out, you couldn't even download it without paying.
So true. Even Facebook. I remember Twitter too was super exclusive. Like I remember Twitter was like mostly for journalists, news people. When you went forward, you would see like all this breaking news on Twitter. And now Elon Musk has bought it and you can go online and get everybody's opinion. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. I love it.
I don't go on Twitter. I didn't know that they had changed it to X.
It's X now, but I still say Twitter. And
I still remember when it went on my phone and it changed, but I didn't know that it was changing. And I was like, what's this app? Where's my bird?
Till this day, I'm typing in Twitter in my search bar. And it's so funny. I get notifications. So a lot of the time, I'm not even on Twitter. I'm just minding my business, right? And then I go forward and I look and I'm like, oh my goodness, like what's going on? Not only do I look and go, what's going on? They'll have like the most egregious headlines. It'll be like, Beyonce smacked Jay-Z and kicked him down the steps. And I'm like, me being such a nosy Nelly, I'm like, what? But of course, it's one of those pages that are definitely trolling, not even real. Yeah. So it's just like, I'm not even on X. And now it's in order to get me on the platform, they have to have these egregious headlines that would make me clickbaited or be so
paid to be on X now, like to get your
yes. And then I don't like that whole $14.99 for a check. I'm not paying for a check.
No,
I will be
enough.
Exactly. I miss when it was an exclusivity for checks, not only on Meta, but also on X. Like you had to be alkalated, you had to be well known, you had to be a public figure. You had to have at least 10 articles that were centered around you. You had to be who you say you were. Now it's just like, you know,
so many followers. It was a whole thing.
Yep. And that too. And then you had to be 10K in to even apply for verification. It's crazy. Now I can be, Toys for Tots and have 6 followers, but I have that check. I pay my $15.99 a month.
It's so bad. It's sad.
But Sarah, this is the point of Tizzy Talk. Tizzy, look at me saying another platform. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
If you have an assistant, if your assistant wants to, if you want to lend her to me for a week, we can coordinate this on why I think this is Tizzy Talks and not
fantastic.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to put any more work on her. I mean, the fact that you're handling 5 mailboxes and she's handling 2, I remember when I got my start in marketing and communication and content creation, and I was handling 4 Instagram pages. That's it. I was overwhelmed. Some of the copy started to sound like copy from other pages.
Yeah, it's so a lot. She shows up to the copper shop and I put her to work and I'm like, here is a sander, go grind that. She comes out just covered in like.
I love that we're also doing besides theory and practice too. So just in case my girl wants to ever go forward and be a coppersmith herself, she has that knowledge. You better guide, Sara. We love it. I think that's amazing. But this is the portion of the show where we give you the time. I'm not going to say shamelessly plug because it's not a shame, but we're going to say gracefully plug, where you have any upcoming news, where people can find your book, where people can find out more information about you, and where people can go forward and even learn what it is that you have going on in your pipeline. So this would be that moment. So I'm going to give you the stage. And please don't be shy. Tell them everything.
Tell them everything. Okay. Well, and some stuff I'm not legally allowed to say, so it's fine. It's all got to be.
I thought you were going to be like, okay, transparently, I'm a Scorpio rising. No.
Yeah, no, I'm a Gemini, so with a Taurus cusp, so I'm a stubborn schizophrenic. So I all right, so
I have Gemini in my chart too, so that must, and I'm an Aries, so that must make me, if you're a psychotic schizophrenic, then I'm a psychotic schizophrenic weirdo too.
Right? Like it's the twins, but they're stubborn because Taurus. So truth. Okay, so my first FYI is, so I have a series of books called the Flats Junction books, and they are historical fiction. They take place in the Dakota territories in the like pre and then during the Gilded Age. So if you love the Gilded Age, like show from Julian Fellows, it's that time period. And I tackle women who build the community. What does that look like for them to get what they want, and keep what they've built and what are kind of the trade-offs for that. And so the book tackles a lot of that. It tackles women in men's roles. It tackles women who want to get into medicine. It tackles medicine a lot in that time period, because it was a huge change in medicine from 1865 to the 1880s and in the 1890s. So I really tackle that. I tackle tick-borne illness and everything that was being discovered in that area of the world at the time. But the most recent book out, it's the 5th of 6 books. This book series has been optioned for film or TV 4 times. It is still not being made, but there's another group that's already putting together. They're like, we can shoot this in Romania. I'm like, what? They're like, there's a Western set in Romania. Who knew? And it's cheap. But we'll see. It's Hollywood, so a million things have to go right. But the most recent book, the 5th of 6, is called Trader 1884. And it really is about what do women have to trade to get what they want or keep what they've built. And so it's the next one will be out in less than a year, and then the series is done. And this one is I usually keep it between 1 to 3 women and their points of view. And this one is about a half native, half white storekeeper who actually becomes the mayor of this town. And then a woman who is trying to build a seamstressing business. She's the daughter of the tinsmith in town, who also is a woman tradesperson. And then the wife of the doctor, who's basically got to battle her husband because she has been learning local medicine, native medicine. And he, of course, is a doctor, and he thinks that everything she's doing will undo what he's had to work so hard to build in the medical industry at a time when like doctors were considered not really like a job. So this book, you can find it anywhere books are sold. It is traditionally published, so you can go to like Target.com and buy it. But it's on Amazon, as are all my books. So that is the most recent release. It only came out a few weeks ago. But if you're on Amazon, or even if you go to saradahmen.com, you'll get all the other books. You'll get my Copper, Iron, and Clay nonfiction book. You'll get the Gothic dark fairy tale that I think I pulled it. It's called 7 Nights in the Dying Castle, and it is
cover.
Thank you. It is it's not very big. It's a Gothic. The closest thing I can say is Beauty and the Beast, but it's based on an old Polish folktale that is like the most creepy version of Beauty and the Beast I've ever read. It's a very little known Polish folktale, and it's awful, and it's kind of gory, and there's like food horror. It's like a Gothic folktale. And there's sex, but people are like, there's not enough sex. And then I'm like, you're looking to put sex in your
people. This is a read. You want a sex scene, you imagine it like everybody else.
Here, it's 2 paragraphs. Enjoy. Maybe
please, like, this is not erotica. We're trying to also, shine light on women during a time of where women are not able to be shined, and have. And first of all, I'm definitely adding to cart because that sounds so interesting. Trader 1884. Like, I'm really excited to read. Just hearing too, what really grabbed my attention was hearing that there's a woman who is practicing medicine, at the time. And her husband is as well. So I already know there's not only conflict with her as a woman doing it amongst the town folk, but her and her husband have some inner turmoil too. And I love the drama. So I definitely will be tuned in.
Thank you. Well, and actually warn though, like, that book is the 5th book, so if you pick it up, it might be confusing.
I have to start from the beginning. I'm just saying, super excited for the characters. I start at 5.
I've been very lucky. This book, a lot of people, I don't usually hear from people, but I've been hearing from people this time going, when is the 6th book coming out? I've saved all 5 books to reread already, like people in the UK and everywhere. And I was like, really? Like, it took 5 books to finally start getting all this fan mail?
Isn't that crazy too? Like with authors, like even with Twilight. I remember Twilight wasn't a popular book until we found out the movie was being adapted. Yeah. And this whole time it was a book I was reading. So when people started, oh my God, I love Twilight. I'm just looking like, you don't even know Jacob like I know Jacob. You only know you only know the movie version.
Last book was the best.
Oh, I love the last book. What was it? Breaking Dawn, the last 2, I was hooked. Like, I mean, literally my mom would be like, Chantel, it's 2 a.m. Go to bed. You have school in the morning. And I'm like, come on, please. I just need to know if Bella and Edward get back safe. I mean, she got pregnant and now she's pregnant and 6 minutes later she's giving birth. Like, one second, I'm going to bed, but I can't end it right here. And then the way the first book ends, you're just like ultimately like, oh man. Like, and I remember when I finished the first book, the second book hadn't come out yet. So it was like maybe 2-3 months before the next one was about to come out. And I'm just like, what happened? Does she die? Does the vampire/human baby die? Does it go on a rampage and eat everybody? Because it's technically a newborn vamp. Like, what's up? And everybody's just like, well, the movie's coming out and maybe you can wait till I'm like, I'm not starting from movie 1 to get an explanation on what happens in book 5. Absolutely not. So I'm very big on series 2. One of my favorites was A Series of Unfortunate Events. And that was obsessed. Oh my God.
Yes.
I made my parents buy me all 12 books and I still have them today.
We didn't read them all, but we watched the show.
The show was really good. My only qualm with the show is that they had Patrick Warburton play the voice of Lemony Snicket as the narrator, and I just couldn't stop hearing Joe from Family Guy, and I'm just like, wrong show, Joe. We're like, what are you? Or even Cusco from Cusco's Emperor's.
No, we're a Family Guy. We're a Family Guy.
I'm a really big Family Guy fan.
So I was just like, they don't. My kids didn't know. They're just like, oh, it's they were piecing it. Like they didn't care. But John and I are just like,
it was a really good show, and I'm really glad Netflix did an adaptation. Yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah, it was way better than a movie too. Yes. I just wish they would have brought whatchamacallit back to play a specific character. It was I forgot her name. It was in the 4th book. Ursat's I think Ursat's Elevator was number 5 or 6.
I don't know.
There is so many books, but it was one. Oh, it's one where they're at like a lumber mill. I wanted to see that episode as far as like in the movie, because like the books they only do. I mean, the movie with Jim Carrey, it only did books 1 to 4. Yeah. So it did the Grotto. It did basically the uncle with the snake. Yeah, the uncle with the snake, the lady with the water house, and then the judge as their guardians. But I really wanted to see the one on the mill, because the mill was one of the books that was really the turning point for the siblings, because Lemony Snicket, he almost went forward and no, not Lemony Snicket, Count Olaf almost went forward and unalived everybody. So it was just so crazy how he went forward and did that. Like, I'm just like,
well, they do it in the show though. I mean, that episode show, so you can watch it. But yeah, there's so much good literature out there.
It really is. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, there's so many good books. I did a podcast with another publisher. He has his own publishing company, is by the name of Claremont Publishing, and we were talking about some movies we wanted to be like. Some books we wanted to be movies, and I was just like, there's so many. Like, I mean, like the books, and then the movies never do them justice. Like 50 Shades of Grey, throw it in the garbage. The books, I'm so sorry to say it like that, Sarah. No. The books in comparison to the movies, I just think the movies were so sex filled. I'm like, there's actual storyline, there's a plot line behind these books. Like, let's talk about Anastasia, or what her name in the book was, Anna. Let's talk about her and her dad's relationship. And funny enough, I also related 50 Shades of Grey to Twilight. It was just sexy Twilight. Because if you think about it, Bella was very in tune with her father, and I took the same as Anastasia. And funny enough, they both had dads who were either distant or really weren't dads, but just raised them as, as their moms moved on. And I was just like,
that's what 50 Shades. That's what 50 Shades was.
The only difference is there's no vampire love.
It was. They tried to scrub the internet of it, but it was just fan fiction that took off.
It literally was, and it's so funny because it tracks. And then hearing how many people were obsessed with the book. Like, I heard about the book before, and very similar to Twilight. Of course, the movie came out, but I heard about the books before even hearing about the movies. And I remember first reading the first book, and I'm like, minus the sex and all the gory, scory, BDSM. It's a great book. I had no business reading it. I was only like 17, but it was a great read. And I'm like, oh wow, like, it brought me to a new genre, because, like, you're a kid, you read kid books. Even when you're an adult, you have your favorite to go back to. But transitioning into now a whole different genre, from YA to now adult fiction, it's just crazy how it just went forward and, continued to push that marker in storytelling or writing. And I feel like books that have been so popular, not only in literature, but in screenwriting or in film too, transition into the silver screen. I think it's amazing to see how, it can be adapted that way. But, I'm wondering what's the next series. I think it's gonna be your series. The next series that we hit the screen. Just don't forget me, please. I would just like a little thank you at the end. Thank you.
No, if I get to produce, I get to be like, we're gonna bring in extras from anywhere.
Oh, yeah, please. I just want to walk by. I just want to sit there and be like, of course, setting a time. Where's my Spice Peaches? I want to be like, the American character that comes around and is just like, where's the Spice Peaches? I think I'll do that line.
If I have my way, if it plays out, we'll see which rendition it is. But I've seen one of the scripts and it's like, it's a little off color. There's a little bit of quirky humor.
I love humor.
There's, and there's, I was like, can you please just license all the 1960s movies? Because I want there to be like weird music in this Western town that's nostalgic. And we think it's the days, but in reality, it was not. Everybody died. Everybody got sick all the time and died. You died if you had a baby. It was
literally you died for everything. You died if you coughed when somebody coughed into your mouth.
See, and this is like clearly but like actually, like when you were pregnant, you would say that you had a foot in the grave. That was how you said you were pregnant because there was such a high chance of mortality for you as a woman.
Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. Kind of 80s, but it kind of tracks because it is Black History this month, and I am choosing to go forward and learn about somebody who has either, pushed Black culture and made strides in Black culture, or someone who has done some crazy things in order for Black people to have to make strides in like medical. And there's actually a doctor who was out there who was like, you know what? Black women can't feel pain. Let's just do surgery without anesthesia. Yeah, and he was from New York too. They had given him a statue around, I think, like the late 1900s, and then they wind up knocking it down, I think, just like in 2013, 2014. And it's just so crazy. Yeah, but just hearing how you say it's just so crazy to think that people of our past, our ancestors, literally couldn't give birth. Literally, if they were giving birth, they were told they were too strong. You're good. Just give the birth. Yeah. Or even going forward and being so male dominated, they couldn't understand what pain women went through. And I just think like even your book touching on a woman in medicine is not only a great read for next month for Women's History Month, I think it's a great read for any woman who's been told, one, she can't, or more importantly, B, that she could never flourish in a male-dominated society. And I love that your story is so reminiscent to the book. I mean, for you to be the only female coppersmith in America, like, is amazing. Like, I mean, what do they say? The call is coming from inside the house. I love to see that. And I think that's amazing that you're not only doing it for us as, the younger generation, but for us as women. And I love stories that put women on a pedestal because we need more stories like that. Like I was talking to someone last week and I was like, I love rap music. I love all genres of music, but I was saying like, I really am tired of female dominated rap. That's all about body parts and getting money and taking money from men. And, I'm like, it's great, that we are so female dominated in rap nowadays, but damn, can we hear something about how you went home today and you just turned on the TV and crossed your feet? Yeah. You watered your plants. What we do as women,
women give birth.
Right.
Women create community.
Right.
Like that's my whole, like women ruled the West. Women created towns because otherwise without that, there was just going to be kind of this free for all craziness. And I've always
see how men decorate their houses and their rooms. It's empty and barren. Women make homes, so it's just like absolutely.
And women are the glue. We're like that weaving underneath society that creates those networks that support everything else. And without that fabric, whole communities die. And so it does require women to bond together and to support one another and see the greater good. And without that, society usually fails. And I think that that's just a kind of a very general truth. I think, if you go back 10,000 years to archaeological digs, I'm working on another book right now, so I'll just reference this, but I
love that. Okay.
Women were the shamans. Women were the god talkers.
Wow.
There's archaeological proof of this that goes back to not even Stone Age, before that. In Germany, in Turkey, they know it was women who were revered as the conduit to the spirits, the networks that built communities, and they were truly revered. And I think if we lose that and we forget about that, that's where I think some of the fraying in our societies comes from. So the books, books are usually a celebration of remembering, like, hey, sometimes it's not fun. It's not easy to work with each other, but good things happen when we do, both for ourselves and for everyone around us.
I think that's important, and I love that, Sarah. I think we need more writers, more screenwriters, more producers, more people who have your mindset within what goes out as far as like which ways we communicate and which way it goes out in the media. I mean, like very similar to what we were just talking about like certain rhetoric in hip hop. That's what I would like to see. Like what you said, women, even though it's hard, like, well, damn, we're still doing it, like, all right, I love this man. He gave me money to go on a shopping spree. But if I tell you that I had to rap 7 hours, 12 hours in a booth in order to get this money, or I went forward and, didn't see myself doing this, but now I overcame and prevailed. That's what I would love to hear. Like, give a story, give a narrative that, is different from somebody else, but also in the same breath, have people that can relate. Like, I always love talking about certain artists, like, for example, like Beyonce. And I only bring up Beyonce because Beyonce is so multifaceted in multiple genres, but most of her music, and even used in score, or even used for like, certain breaks and commercials or things like that for ads. Her music is all about women empowerment. For example, Blink Twice. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but it was directed by Zoe Kravitz. Great watch if you and your husband like thought-provoking movies. Yeah. But it's ultimately a movie about, a weird island where women go for vacation. But it's women. I think you would love this too because it's based on women empowerment. But basically in a movie, it's about these group of women who go to an island with men. They forget their memory. I mean, not forget their memory. They're losing their memory. They're forgetting, but they can't understand why. And ultimately, to escape the island, they have to trust each other as women, or make sure that their sisters are okay in order to. And it was directed by Zoe Kravitz, which is Lenny Kravitz, and what's her name? I always know her name, but the daughter from Bill Cosby show. They had a baby together. The oldest one.
I know. I see the face, but I couldn't tell you her name.
Lisa Bonet. That's her name. Sorry, I almost forgot. But it was her directorial debut, and I think you would love it. I'll send you over. It's on Prime right now, but it's super great. The cinematography, the storyline is amazing, and it has some great actors in it. They have Haley Joel Osment. He's in it. They have yes, I still see the little boy from Sixth Element and Pay It Forward. I'm like, oh, love it. But they also have Channing Tatum. He's the main character. He plays a billionaire. They have Christian Slater, which is also good too. And Christian Slater doesn't age. He's still so handsome. I love Christian Slater. I'm like, and then they have the guy Simon Rex. He played in like a few movies. He played in Scary Movie 3. I don't remember he was Cindy's husband or whatever, but he's in it. I didn't
watch those movies because I'm afraid of scary movies.
Don't feel bad. I am too. And literally I watched this movie with my cousin this weekend. She's like, please don't put this on if it's scary. I'm like, it's only scary because it's thought-provoking. And you're going to sit there and say, next time a billionaire asks me to go on an island, will I be so quick to say yes? So it's just, yes, it was a lot of red flags in the movie, Sarah, and I'm just like, man, would I just be so, naive that I'm just like, billionaire, money, island, champagne, food, nice clothes, that I would totally ignore like the craziness or the monstrosities going on. But it's a really good movie. I love the cinematography in it. The storyline is great. I love how it always centers back to women helping women, and ultimately women conquering over males and a patriarchal society. So it's a really good movie, and I hope that we get more movies like that, like more movies where it's less male-led, and more female-based stories that are not documentaries either, or biographies. I don't want to see another movie about Whitney Houston. I don't want to see
biopics.
tired of biopics. And funny enough, the main character in Blink Twice, Naomi Aki, she actually played Whitney Houston in the I Want to Dance with Somebody movie.
I haven't seen that, but
I'm sorry. I love Whitney Houston. I'm a big Whitney Houston fan. Like, I can't watch any movie that like the Michael Jackson movie coming out at the end of the year. I don't think I'm going to be able to see. I'm going to cry. I can't. Michael, like, please. And it's so funny because, you see all of these stars very similar to, Zoe Kravitz, and you've been amongst these stars, but now she's telling a story about this, weird island with rich people who they, do whatever they want. And it's just like, were you around that? Your dad is Lenny Kravitz. What did you see? I'm just,
you get ideas.
Yeah, like very much one eye closed, one eye open. Like, what was going on? But my cousin was like, yeah, she definitely knew. She saw something. Her dad is Lenny Kravitz. Like, what do you think? And I'm just like, please, I can't go down the rabbit hole today. I must sleep. I must sleep. I won't go to sleep if I think about if this is based on a true account, because then now it's very scary for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you wonder what kind of world you're living in.
And then now it makes me wonder, like, all these people who are prominent in society who have islands, like, what's going on there, but. And now I don't even want an island, Sarah, because I'm like, I don't want to have that stigma attached to me. I don't want to be like, oh, she's a weird girl with an island. Like, no, just want the island for tanning and, champagne for when I want. But now I'm going to have to be looked at weird if I invite, 5 males and 5 females. They're going to be like, she's on that Slater King Blink Twice type of time. And I'm like, the island was cheap.
My gosh, that's so funny. No, I'll have to do some, like.
Yes, I definitely think it's a great movie. Definitely don't show the kids though. Not that it's anything like super like, fresh or inappropriate. It's just very triggering for the mind because there's like certain things, like, for example, they're like killing snakes. And then it's another part where they kind of go forward and show like snippets of like assault, but like literally it's not anything where it's like, oh my goodness, like I have to turn it off. It's literally just like a flashback. It's more gory as far as like the men trying to chase the women and make sure they don't escape the island as the scary part. Mm-hmm. But as far as everything else, it's just very like cryptic. Like you would only scare yourself if you thinking more into it than it has to be.
Right.
But I've scared myself. So I'm going to be transparent. But also, Sarah, this is the time that if you have anything else you want to say to the audience, any upcoming news you may have as far as like anything going on between the rest of the year, you have that option to go. And then you also have the option to see where, to say, excuse me, or to see, like people can see, they're going to hear it first, but where people can find your social handle or where they can find you to purchase your book, etc. This is your time.
Yeah, no, my Instagram handle is either House Copper or Sara Dahmen. I know this. I'm pretty sure it's just Sara Dahmen. I'm on Instagram. I swear it. Yeah, Sara_Dahmen. But otherwise House Copper, or you can just Google my name and you'll find everything. You'll find my copper website, House Copper. You'll find, SaraDahmen.com. You can just Google it with Amazon and you'll get all my books. I know a lot of like sometimes you can find the Copper Iron and Clay, the nonfiction book, in like Barnes and Noble even, but it's a touch and go thing. They can order it, of course. But really, and any bookstore, if you want to support local, if you go in and order and ask for any of my books, because they are traditionally published, they can order them in for you, so you can support local if you want to support local, and don't want to just do, an online resource. But I'm mostly on Instagram. I also do Facebook still because I'm old. Both Sara Dahmen
and do that. You're not old, and a lot of people still use Facebook, by the way.
I know. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on Snapchat. I'm
not that young to be on TikTok and Snapchat, though.
Yeah, you can find me on Threads under House Copper. I do post on Threads. You can, if you really are interested in the copper stuff, I do have a YouTube channel for House Copper and cookware. And I have many years of videos if you are really excited about cookware and coppersmithing and old tools. There's a lot of how-tos and how to cook in copper, how to take care of it, how to, build a cup from scratch, if that kind of thing trips your trigger. But otherwise, that's it. I mean, I have the last book of Flash Junction coming out. We'll see if anything gets started in media over the next year, but it's such a crapshoot because there's so many green lights that have to happen in Hollywood. But in the meantime, I'm working on some books with my agent, but I don't want to say too much just because she wants to keep it, but before they go out on sub, she doesn't want a lot to be said. So I will. People can just watch my things.
Yeah, I'm thinking we may have to invite you back. So once that news drops, we get the exclusive.
Yeah, right. I'll be like, yeah, this will be on Netflix. No,
oh my goodness! And
just knock on wood.
To God's ears. Not even if, when you're on Netflix, even when we film the movie. So
I will be on PBS at the end of the month, I guess.
Oh, I love PBS, and so funny. I live in Jersey, so I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. I live in Jersey, but PBS is located right in Newark. So
yeah,
that was amazing. Yeah,
yeah, I love that. So I'll be on Made with Love, one of their shows. So I
will be tuning in, and I will be making sure to repost when I see you, because I think that's amazing.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. Sara,
that's all I got.
That's all I got. Well, Sara, thank you so much for jumping on with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation about Trader 1884. I'm really excited to dive in and read more about it. Like I'm thinking about, I was thinking about the bookstore today. I'm like, if I could run in the morning to the bookstore, I can order, it could be here by Friday, and I can start and I can be done by my birthday. So that's a goal for me. But definitely just going to the bookstore. Growing up, I love reading books. Like, that's my favorite pastime. So to be able to still do something I love from a child into adulthood, I'm super excited. And I'm super excited I got to meet you and learn more about some works you have, because now I can jump back into, my passion of reading, but also reading something that is making me feel good, but also very thought-provoking that I may not be able to put it down. So I'm really excited about books. It gets me excited to book read again. I feel like I'm going to be a bookworm again.
Yeah, you have to. No, it'll be awesome. I so appreciate you having me on. And I know we covered a gamut of crazy stuff. So thank you for letting me ping around. But
I love it. And thank you for letting me give some anecdotes and ping around too. I love when we can be super conversational and just super smiley and laughy. I think that's important, especially when you just mesh well with another creative. I just love that. So just really thank you so much for jumping on my platform and sharing your story. And thank you for allowing me to share with not only my viewers, but your viewers as well on what it is that we do as creatives, but also, sharing other creatives who need to be put on that platform because they're doing the damn thing. So definitely.
For sure. Well, thank you again.
Thank you so much, Sara.